Have you ever loved someone with all your heart, only to realize later that you were just a piece in their game? For many people, especially those in their 50s and beyond, this painful experience can feel like a betrayal, not just by their partner, but by their own heart. Why does this happen? Because love makes us see things through rose-colored glasses. It blinds us to red flags and gives us hope where none exists. But the truth is, some people enter relationships not for love, but for what they can get out of it, and they are often very skilled at hiding their true intentions. As a doctor specializing in mental and emotional health for older adults, I've seen how toxic relationships affect mental well-being, self-esteem, and even physical health. Today, let's break down the 6 signs that a man is using you, and more importantly, how you can heal and move forward with wisdom and strength. To make these lessons clearer, let's walk through Linda's story, a woman in her mid-50s who believed she had found love, only to later discover the painful truth. Linda, a 55-year-old woman, found herself in unfamiliar territory after her divorce. After 25 years of marriage, she had spent most of her adult life dedicated to her family, raising children, supporting her husband's career, and sacrificing her own dreams. The end of her marriage left her feeling lost and uncertain about the future. Would she ever find love again? Was she even worthy of being loved at this stage of life? Then came Michael. He was charming, confident, and had an ease about him that made Linda feel seen in a way she hadn't in years. From the very first meeting, he showered her with attention, complimenting her intelligence, beauty, and kindness. He seemed deeply interested in her life, asking questions about her past and her dreams for the future. He made her laugh, made her feel desired, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like a woman again. Not just a mother, not just an ex-wife, but someone worthy of romance. As their relationship progressed, Michael continued to say all the right things. He sent good morning texts every day, made grand gestures, and promised Linda a future filled with happiness and companionship. It felt like a second chance at love, a reward for all the years she had given to others. But slowly, things began to shift. At first, it was small inconsistencies, stories that didn't quite add up, cancelled plans without a real explanation, a reluctance to talk about his own past in detail. Linda noticed moments when Michael's words didn't match his actions. He promised her a future, but when she brought up concrete plans, he always seemed to avoid the conversation. He claimed he adored her, yet he often dismissed her feelings when she expressed concerns. Still, Linda brushed aside these red flags. After all, wasn't love about compromise? About accepting someone, flaws and all? She convinced herself that she was simply overthinking things, that she was being too cautious because of her past heartbreak. Months passed before Linda finally faced the truth. Michael wasn't in love with her. He was in love with what she could offer him. The attention, the support, the validation, these were the things he craved. He enjoyed the way she made him feel, but he had never truly cared for her in the way she had cared for him. The realization was painful, but it also set her free. Linda had spent so much time looking for love that she had ignored the signs that she was being used. But now, with clarity, she understood the truth, and she vowed never to ignore those signs again. Now, let's break down the 6 major signs Linda missed, so you don't make the same mistake. Sign 1, he only reaches out when he needs something. At first, Michael was incredibly attentive. He would call Linda every day, send her sweet good morning texts, and always check in on her. It felt like she had finally met someone who truly cared about her. Their conversations were warm and engaging, and his words made her feel special. But soon, she noticed a pattern. Every time he was extra affectionate, showering her with compliments, texting her more than usual, or suddenly making time for her, it was followed by a request. "Could you pick up a package for me? I'm in a tough financial spot right now. Could you help me out just this once? I need a favor, but I hate to ask." At first, Linda didn't think much of it. After all, relationships are about give and take, and she believed in being supportive. If Michael needed help, why wouldn't she be there for him? However, as time went on, she realized something troubling. This pattern wasn't occasional, it was constant. Every moment of closeness seemed to be a setup for the next favor, And worse, when she needed something from him, he was nowhere to be found. One evening, Linda had a terrible day at work. Her boss had unfairly criticized her, she was overwhelmed with deadlines, and she just needed someone to talk to. She reached out to Michael, hoping for some comfort. But instead of listening, he brushed her off with a quick message. "I'm really busy right now. Can we talk later?" Later never came. A week passed, and she didn't hear from him. Then, out of the blue, he sent a message filled with affection. "Hey babe, I've been thinking about you a lot. I miss you. By the way, could you do me a small favor?" It hit her like a ton of bricks. He wasn't reaching out because he missed her. He was reaching out because he needed something. The warmth, the affection, the sweet words, they weren't genuine expressions of love. They were just tools to get what he wanted. At first, Linda tried to rationalize his behavior. Maybe he's just going through a tough time. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But the more she gave, the more she realized she wasn't receiving anything in return. Not emotionally, not mentally, and certainly not physically. Being in a one-sided relationship is exhausting. The constant hope that he will one day reciprocate your kindness can be draining. Linda began to feel resentful, used, and unappreciated. She started questioning her own worth. Am I only valuable when I'm useful? One day, she decided to test him. Instead of waiting for his next request, she reached out first. "Hey, Michael, I'm moving this weekend and could really use a hand. Would you be able to help me?" His response came quickly. "Oh, I'd love to, but I have plans. Maybe next time?" That was the moment she knew there would never be a next time. A man who truly cares about you will be there even when he doesn't need anything. He will check in on you just to hear your voice, not because he's about to ask for a favor. He will offer his support because he values you, not because he's trying to get something from you. If his affection disappears the moment he gets what he wants, he's not in love. He's just using you. Linda learned that the hard way, but she also learned a valuable lesson. Love should never feel like a transaction. When someone truly cares, they give freely, not just when it's convenient for them. She made a promise to herself that day. Never again will I settle for someone who only values me when I'm useful to them. I deserve love that is consistent, unconditional, and real. And so do you. Sign 2. He never introduces you to his friends or family. When a man truly loves you, he wants to integrate you into his world. That includes introducing you to the people closest to him, his family and friends. It's a natural progression in a serious relationship. Meeting his inner circle isn't just about socializing. It's about him acknowledging that you are important enough to be a part of his life beyond your private moments together. If this step never happens, it's a major red flag. Linda learned this the hard way. She had been dating Michael for months. Their relationship seemed good, at least on the surface. He was affectionate, spent time with her, and made her feel special when they were alone. But something was missing. No matter how many times she brought it up, Michael never introduced her to his friends or family. At first, she gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was just a private person. Maybe his family was complicated. Maybe he was shy about blending different parts of his life. But the more she thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. His excuses were always vague. We should all go out one night soon. But soon never came. They just wouldn't understand our relationship. But what was there to understand? I like to keep my personal life private. Yet he had no problem sharing other aspects of his life with colleagues and acquaintances. One evening, as Linda was scrolling through social media, she saw something that made her stomach drop. A mutual acquaintance had posted a picture of Michael at a restaurant with a group of people. They looked like they were having a great time. But what really caught her attention was the woman sitting next to him, laughing, her hand resting a little too comfortably on his arm. Linda felt a mix of emotions, hurt, confusion, and anger. When she confronted Michael that night, his reaction wasn't one of reassurance. He was defensive. "Why are you checking up on me?" he snapped. "It was just a casual dinner. I don't owe you an explanation." That was the moment it hit her. He wasn't keeping his personal life separate. He was keeping her separate. A man who is serious about you wants his friends and family to know about you. It's a way of claiming you as an important part of his life. When he avoids this step, it often means He's not emotionally invested. If he doesn't see a future with you, he won't feel the need to introduce you to people who matter to him. He's hiding something. Whether it's another relationship, a complicated past, or a part of his life he doesn't want you to see, secrecy is rarely a good sign. He's keeping his options open. If he hasn't told anyone about you, it's easier for him to walk away without accountability. He doesn't respect you enough to include you. Love isn't just about private moments, it's about being part of each other's bigger lives. If you're in this situation, take a step back and evaluate the relationship. Have a direct conversation with him. Instead of accepting vague excuses, ask yourself, is he truly committed to me, or am I just someone he enjoys spending time with when it's convenient? Have I met any of his close friends or family? If not, why? Does he make future plans with me, or does everything feel temporary? If he continuously dodges the subject, makes excuses, or gets defensive, you have your answer. A man who truly cares about you will want to share his life with you, not keep you hidden. Linda eventually walked away. It was painful, but she realized she deserved someone who was proud to have her by his side, not someone who kept her in the shadows. And you do too. Sign 3. He manipulates you with guilt. Healthy relationships are built on honesty, trust, and open communication. But for Linda, every time she tried to address an issue with her boyfriend Michael, the conversation never went as expected. Instead of feeling heard or reassured, she found herself apologizing again and again. Over time, she began to wonder if she was the problem, if she was too needy, too demanding, or simply asking for too much. But the truth was, she wasn't. She was being manipulated. Michael had mastered the art of guilt tripping. Whenever Linda voiced a concern, he skillfully twisted the situation until she felt like the one in the wrong. The more she tried to communicate, the more she felt like a burden. The more she sought clarity, the more confused she became. When he cancelled their plans at the last minute, Linda felt disappointed and hurt. She tried to express this to him, hoping for an apology or even just an acknowledgement of her feelings. But instead, Michael lashed out. "I can't believe you'd say that. Do you even know how much stress I'm under?" Suddenly, it wasn't about how she felt. It was about him. Linda found herself backpedaling, reassuring him that she understood, that she wasn't trying to add to his stress. Before she knew it, she was apologizing for being upset, even though she had every right to be. Another time, she sensed something was off with Michael and gently asked if something was wrong. Instead of an honest answer, he snapped, "So now I have to explain myself every second of the day?" Linda immediately felt guilty, as if she had crossed a line. Was she being too intrusive, too controlling? Again, she apologized, despite the fact that all she wanted was a simple conversation. And when she was feeling low and needed comfort, she was met with dismissal. "I can't deal with this right now. You're always so emotional." Those words stung. They made her feel like her emotions were a burden, like her feelings were too much for him to handle. Slowly but surely, Linda started suppressing her emotions, afraid that expressing them would push Michael away or start another argument. She spent months walking on eggshells, making sure she didn't cause problems. But in reality, the problem wasn't her. It was Michael's manipulative behavior. Guilt tripping is a powerful form of manipulation. It shifts the focus away from the actual issue and places the blame on the person expressing their feelings. When someone consistently makes you feel guilty for having emotions, they aren't just avoiding accountability, they are exerting control. This kind of manipulation can be subtle, but it has long-term effects. Over time, you may start questioning your own feelings, doubting your own needs, and prioritizing the other person's emotions over your own. It can make you feel like you're always in the wrong, even when you're simply trying to communicate honestly. If every time you express a concern you end up apologizing, it's time to take a step back and reevaluate the relationship. Ask yourself, do I feel heard and valued when I express my emotions? Do I constantly find myself apologizing even when I haven't done anything wrong? Do I suppress my feelings out of fear of upsetting my partner? Do I feel drained or emotionally exhausted after trying to have a conversation about my needs? A healthy relationship involves mutual respect, understanding, and emotional support. Your feelings are valid, and a loving partner will acknowledge them, not dismiss or manipulate you into silence. A real man won't make you feel guilty for having emotions. He won't twist situations to make you feel like you're the problem when you're simply trying to express yourself. If your concerns are constantly turned against you, you're not in a loving relationship. You're in a manipulative one. Recognizing manipulation is the first step toward reclaiming your voice. No one deserves to be made to feel guilty for their emotions. If you find yourself in this cycle, know that you are not alone and you deserve better. Sign 4, he doesn't really listen to you. At first, it may seem like he's paying attention. He nods, makes eye contact, and even responds with short phrases like, "That's interesting," or "Really?" But over time, you start to notice something unsettling. He's just surface level. His engagement is just surface level. Michael was charming and attentive when Linda spoke, or so she thought. But as their relationship progressed, she began to realize that his attentiveness was an illusion. It wasn't that he didn't hear her. It was that he wasn't truly listening. She would tell him about her dreams, her worries, the things that excited her, but none of it seemed to stick. One day, she decided to test a theory. "I've always wanted to take a cooking class," she mentioned casually during dinner. He nodded, said something like, "That sounds fun," and then the conversation moved on. Weeks later, she brought it up again. "I was thinking of signing up for that cooking class I told you about." Michael blinked in confusion. "Cooking class? Since when do you want to take a cooking class?" Linda felt a sharp sting in her chest. It wasn't just that he had forgotten, it was that he had never truly heard her in the first place. A man who genuinely cares about you will remember the little things because they matter to you. He doesn't have to share your interests, but he'll store them in his heart because they bring you joy. Maybe he surprises you with a book on a topic you love, or he brings up something you said weeks because it stuck with him. True listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about valuing the person speaking them. If you find yourself constantly repeating things, reminding him of details about your life, or realizing that he only seems to remember things when they benefit him, take a step back. This is not just forgetfulness, it's a sign of emotional disconnection. He only remembers things that are convenient for him. If he never forgets when he needs a favor but always forgets your interests or feelings, that's a red flag. He interrupts or steers the conversation back to himself. You mention a rough day at work, and instead of showing concern, he immediately starts talking about his day. You have to repeat yourself often. Conversations feel like déjà vu because you've told him things before, but he acts like it's the first time hearing them. He gives generic responses. Instead of engaging with what you're saying, he relies on phrases like, "That's crazy," or "Wow, really?" without adding anything meaningful. He forgets important dates or events. If he constantly forgets things that are important to you, it signals that your happiness is not a priority for him. If your partner consistently fails to listen, it's more than just a bad habit. It's a sign of emotional neglect. Relationships thrive on connection, and that connection is built through mutual understanding and attentiveness. If he doesn't make the effort to remember what matters to you, it may be time to reconsider the relationship. A person who loves you will want to know you deeply and truly, and that starts with listening, not just to respond, but to understand. Sign 5, he makes empty promises. Michael was a master at making promises he never intended to keep. "We should go to Italy together. I'm going to make it up to you. Just wait until work calms down." At first, Linda believed him. His words painted a beautiful picture of a future that seemed so close, so tangible. She envisioned herself strolling through the cobblestone streets of Rome, holding his hand, watching the sunset over the Amalfi Coast. She imagined romantic dinners under the soft glow of candlelight, the two of them laughing, completely immersed in each other's presence. But as the weeks turned into months, reality hit hard. There were no booked flights, no concrete plans, no steps toward the promises he made. Every time she brought it up, he had an excuse. "Work has been crazy," he would say, or "things have been tough financially," despite spending money on new gadgets and nights out with friends. She wanted to believe him, so she gave him the benefit of the doubt. But deep down, a nagging feeling started to grow. It wasn't just about the trip to Italy. Michael had a habit of making promises that sounded wonderful in the moment, but never materialized. He said he'd introduce her to his family, but there was always a reason to postpone it. He promised to be more emotionally available, but she still felt alone. He swore he would make more time for her, yet his schedule remained packed with everything but her. Whenever she expressed her concerns, he would reassure her with more words, more promises. "I hear you," he'd say. "I'll do better." Yet, the cycle never changed. It was always a matter of when, not now. Why do some men make empty promises? Not all empty promises are made with bad intentions. Some people, like Michael, genuinely believe their own words when they say them, but as time passes, their actions or lack thereof reveal the truth. Keeping you hooked. They don't want to lose you, but they also don't want to put in the real effort to keep you. Promises become a way to string you along, keeping you hopeful enough to stay. Avoiding conflict. Rather than admitting they don't want to change, they make promises to avoid arguments. It's easier to say, "I'll do better," than to have a real conversation about their unwillingness to commit. Self-delusion. Some people convince themselves that they will change, but when the time comes, they find excuses. They get stuck in their comfort zone and never take the steps needed to follow through. One evening, after another broken promise, Linda sat alone in her apartment, replaying their conversations in her head. She finally saw the pattern clearly. He never planned a future with her. He was just keeping her hopeful enough to stay. That's when she made a decision. Love should never feel like waiting for something that will never happen. She deserved someone who didn't just talk about the future, but actually built it with her. The next time Michael made another promise, she didn't get excited. She didn't wait. Instead, she simply responded, "I'll believe it when I see it," and when she didn't see it, she walked away. Sign 6. He loves what you do for him, not who you are. Love should be about mutual appreciation, deep connection, and genuine affection. But sometimes we mistake gratitude for love. When a man values you only for the things you do for him, not for the person you are, he is not truly in love with you. Instead, he is in love with the convenience, the comfort, and the benefits you bring into his life. Michael appreciated Linda's effort, her availability, and her unwavering support. He always thanked her when she helped him, and he seemed to enjoy having her around. But deep down, Linda started to feel that something was off. It wasn't the kind of love she had imagined. Every time she was there for him, he was happy. But when she needed support, his presence felt inconsistent. He didn't ask about her well-being with the same level of care. He didn't go out of his way to make her feel loved or appreciated, unless it was in response to something she had done for him. One day, Linda decided to run a silent test. She imagined what would happen if she stopped replying to his messages immediately, stopped checking on him every time he needed something, stopped saying yes to his every request. And suddenly, she knew the answer. The moment she stopped giving, he disappeared. No messages, no check-ins, no efforts to understand why she had become distant. It was as if their connection had never existed. A relationship where love is conditional on what you provide is not a relationship at all. It's a transactional arrangement. Here are some clear signs that someone values what you do more than who you are. 1. Your worth is tied to your actions, not your presence. He only compliments you when you do something for him. He rarely shows affection when there's nothing in it for him. 2. He expects you to be available but isn't there for you in the same way. When he needs emotional support, you're his first call. When you need emotional support, he is busy, uninterested, or dismissive. 3. He disappears when you stop giving. If you stop offering help, favors, or emotional labor, his attitude changes. He becomes distant or stops reaching out. 4. You feel exhausted instead of fulfilled. You give so much, but instead of feeling loved, you feel drained. You begin to wonder if he values you beyond what you do for him. 5. Your efforts are expected, not appreciated. There's no reciprocity he takes without truly acknowledging or returning the effort. You feel like you have to keep proving your worth through service. A man who truly loves you will love you for who you are, not just for what you provide. Love should be about companionship, respect, and deep emotional connection, not about fulfilling someone else's needs at the expense of your own. If someone disappears the moment you stop catering to them, they were never truly present in the first place. It hurts to realize this, but it's also a powerful moment of clarity. You deserve someone who loves you for the essence of who you are, not just the comfort you bring. If you find yourself in a situation like Linda's, ask yourself, if I stopped giving so much, would he still love me? Does he appreciate my mind, my heart, my personality, or just my actions? Do I feel like my love is valued or just used? Love should feel like home, not like a job. A partner who loves you will cherish your presence, not just the things you provide. You are enough, just as you are. Linda spent months convincing herself that Michael cared. She held on to every small moment of affection, every half-hearted apology, and every empty promise, hoping that one day things would change. But deep down, she always knew something was wrong. The inconsistencies, the emotional distance, and the constant feelings of doubt were all signs she ignored until she couldn't anymore. If you've ever been in a relationship like this, I want to hear from you. What was the moment you realized he was just using you? Was it when you found yourself making excuses for his neglect? When you noticed he only showed up when he needed something? Or when you finally admitted that love shouldn't feel so lonely? Your story could be the wake-up call someone else needs to see the truth before it's too late. And remember, real love should never feel like a guessing game. It doesn't leave you anxious, questioning your worth, or waiting for breadcrumbs of affection. When it's real, it's clear. It's consistent, and it makes you feel safe. Like, comment, and subscribe to Golden Years Balance for more insights on love, relationships, and emotional well-being.